Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. They'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here. Today is the 29th of August. 29th of August 2014. Sun sign in Virgo, moon sign in Libra. So just like yesterday, Earth for the conscious mind, physical being, physical body, things around us in the physical world. Hermit holding the lantern high to help others, shine the light for them to see. Unconscious mind, air, Libra, balance, karma, the words and the actions we speak that help us, and also knowing how to avoid the words and the actions that can hurt us. Air moves, Earth stays stationary. So we move from there, we look at the aspects today. 9:33 a.m. we have the Sun and Neptune are going to be in opposition with each other. So Neptune saying look at things from a new perspective. The Sun, the Hermit, is holding the lantern high. So at opposite points they're balancing each other out. So this new perspective and the willingness to look at how to serve life are balancing each other out, so you can see how they affect each other. Then at 11 a.m. Venus is in a nice good position with our moon, Libra, and so this should be nice good communication, appreciation of beautiful things around us, things of this nature. Finding out how we can use our imagination to create a beautiful world around us. Numerology for today, number 8. And the way we arrived at that was 8 plus 2 plus 9 plus 2014 adds up to a 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. So 8 is the number of today according to the Gregorian calendar. 8 is the tarot card of strength, represents the astrological sign of Leo. 8 is a number, it's a good business number. It's a number of reciprocal energy. It's the infinity sign, which means energy moves on and on. We look at our placement today. Sun sign, right here. Moon sign are right here, Libra. And numerology. So just these, the sun, the moon, and the numerology today are all right here, forming this triangle. The beauty at the heart, mercy at one end, severity at the other. So you have the two extremes in the beauty. Let's take a look today at strength. We've looked at it before. We're going to keep looking at every day. Repetition is important, so we're going to go to strength. So remember, yellow, the mind, subconscious, primal force within ourselves, conscious mind, kundalini. So this card is very profound, esoteric significance. It is a representation of a great cosmic force which Madame Blavatsky called the Fohat. The force is the human organism. It's called kundalini, serpent power. There are a number of systems which attempt to tell unwary students how to awaken to sleep in kundalini. They are often successful, and the results of their misguided efforts are human wrecks and derelicts, people driven to madness and obsession. for the fact that the Kundalini is a real force and it is powerful in destruction as it is in integration. Every person automatically receives the instruction he needs to awaken the Kundalini when the time comes for that awakening. In the meantime, listen to no one who tells you that he can help you unfold powers by setting the serpent force in action. Such practices are the most dangerous known to man. The proper way to prepare yourself for the time is to learn how to control your body, your mind, and emotions. When you have done this, you will know the next step. Kundalini is not a force to be feared. You use it every day of your life, but you use it naturally without giving it conscious attention. For even its latent state, it is the force behind our activities. It is automatically controlled by subconsciousness. Subconsciousness is the woman in Key 8, and she has the lion in complete control. Because tarot works by giving suggestions to subconsciousness, it works automatically towards the expansion of consciousness that makes for an ever greater control or continually increasing powers of personality. And then 8, Tet, meaning serpent, it's fire symbol, Leo. Alright, moon phase today is 14% of the way full, making its way up to a full moon. We've got a graphic here for the sky tonight, right here. The moon is coming back into the evening sky. Look for the waxing crescent moon low in the southwest in twilight, as shown below. Can you make out Spica twinkling beneath it? Then far to the upper left are Saturn and Mars. So there's Saturn, Mars. So we're going to see the moon. Look to the left of the moon and up, Saturn, Mars. And then over to the left, we'll see Scorpio as it's coming in view. Mayan Oracle 4-tone day. 4-tone is the self-existing tone of form. The night is the kin for today, about our dreams or our subconscious, and the abundance that comes from the subconscious realm. The storm is the guide for today. So today we have the self-existing night guided by the storm. The phrase is, I define in order to measure. In order to dream, measuring intuition, I seal the input of abundance with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of self-generation. And today is a galactic activation portal day. It is 3 columns over, 3 rows down. Therefore, we have a meeting place between the two, an intersection point. Space weather 433.0 is our solar wind at the moment. We are in the midst of a storm, 5 on a scale of 1 through 9. No notice of any coronal holes, but I'd have to imagine that there's got to be something that's affecting us, because this is directly facing the Earth. M-class flare possibilities at 20, X-class at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity is low, 15% in the mid latitudes and 15% in the high latitudes. The 29th of August translates in the Jewish calendar to 3 Elul. In the daily thought, it's called the path of the humble. If we were truly humble, we would not be forever searching higher paths in the mountaintops. We would look to the simple places in the practical things that need to be done. True, all these places lie in the world of falsehood. With only a little more light, we would all realize that none of this is really necessary. But the soul that knows its place knows that it is great and lofty God can and most be found in the simple act of lending a hand or comforting word in a world of falsehood and illusions. So this really kind of sums up the idea of the hermit. You know, how we can really help others. That's what the hermit does, shines the light high so others can see where we are headed and what needs to be done. Alright, that's our UFO news. I'll be back. Actually, UFO news is up next, so let's get to it.
This is the UFO News. with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. First story today comes to us from New Jersey. It says a translucent UFO hovers 6 feet above the ground. A New Jersey witness at Washington Township reported a bright orange bell-shaped object in her backyard that quickly moved into the sky and disappeared, according to testimony from the MUFON database. The witness was outside 8:30 p.m. on the 14th of August as a storm was approaching from the northwest when the object was first seen. I walked out my backyard, picked up the tomato off a patio plant. I then walked to the fence on my right and tossed the tomato over it for the birds. When I turned around, I saw a large orange-red glowing object that reminded me of a burning ember from a fire, very bright. The witness described the object's movement. It came from over the top of the neighbor's lower roof, which is probably 10 feet high, moving steadily towards the southeast through our backyard. It seemed to move right through tree leaves. If it navigated around them, I didn't notice that. There was no sound, no smell, no anything. It appeared to be translucent with fire inside of it, like a churning gas, and at some point I saw a clear edge to it. I remember thinking I could see through it if it weren't for all the fire inside. When I say it looked like a jellyfish, it was the shape of a contracted, bell-shaped jellyfish. It was approximately 6 feet off the ground, moving through the backyard, and I was only about 10 feet from it at one point. I estimate the size to be 8 feet tall. By 5 feet wide, it moved at a pace like a fast walk, but steady. Alright, let's move from there. Here's an interview with Linda Moulton Howe. If you've never heard Linda speak, you're in for a treat. She is very informed about what's going on. The interview itself is 6 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm going to leave the video link for you to check it out. It says Linda Moulton Howe is an award-winning journalist who has a passion of digging deep, digging some interesting anomalous phenomena for decades. She was also one of the celebrated speakers at this year's Mutual UFO Network Symposium, titled UFOs in the Media. Linda talks about her background, research, extraterrestrial visitation, and the future of UFO subject in this interview. She also shares her thoughts on the 2014 MUFON Symposium theme, UFOs in the Media. Okay, so check that out. Here we go, the never-ending battle between believers and debunkers. The never-ending battle continues on. It says, is it possible to literally speak of the dead? Can a gifted medium actually help us converse with the loved one who has passed on? The supreme logician, Arthur Conan Doyle, believed it is possible, while his rival, the magician Harry Houdini, described the practice as a cruel fraud. Read the story of their sometimes bitter feud in revealing the bizarre powers of Harry Houdini. Did Houdini possess supernatural powers he kept hidden from the world, even his wife? Were his seemingly impossible feats of magic and escape purely a product of the bizarre, otherworldly gifts and not mere stagecraft? Who was the angelic voice who guided him through the public displays of his amazing defiance of immutable physical laws? Bud Hopkins and Philip Klass, both now deceased, fought a grudge match over the truth behind alien abduction that lives on today. It was much like a debate between Doyle and Houdini over spiritualism. What we're able to learn from such a hard-fought battles over the crucial truths of phenomena, we can as yet only dimly understand. Which side will be proved right when the answers are finally known? Escape artist Harry Houdini and Sherlock Holmes creator Arthur Conan Doyle are what people used to call household names. Personages so familiar and instantly recognizable that they require almost nothing by the way of introduction. What some may be less familiar with, however, is the fact that they were not only contemporaries of one another, but also intimately acquainted rivals. They differed greatly on the subject of spiritualism, specifically the practice of mediums who conducted seances and claimed to be able to speak to the dead. Surprisingly, it was Doyle, whose fictional character relied on the keenest logic to solve crimes, who believed that spirit contact was real and that the dead could communicate from the other side through a skilled, genuine medium. Meanwhile, Houdini, the master of deception, sleight of hand, quite strenuously decried the spiritualist movement and its medium minions as cruel charlatans who exploited the grief of the living and led them to believe that they could converse with souls who had passed over. All right, a lot more to the article. I'm going to leave that to you to finish that up. We're going to move on to the next story here. Sirius. Seriously, folks, really. We're going to get serious here. Sirius. Sirius mystery. Dagon and the Dagon. Alright. Carrie Ken Ami. So this is the first article in a series about a serious mystery behind the Sirius mystery. But it's not that which one may generally think. The Sirius Mystery is a book first published by Robert K. Temple in 76 A.D. Its premises, ancient astronaut, or as the term has been updated, ancient aliens, or actually in this case, ancient extraterrestrial amphibians. It is called the Sirius Mystery because the claims that the Dogon people of Mali in West Africa preserve a tradition of contact with intelligent extraterrestrial beings from the Sirius star system, that is, the Dogon, have knowledge of the Sirius system embedded with their ancient mythologies and traditions, knowledges they had no earthly way of knowing. Sirius B, the white dwarf companion star of Sirius A, invisible to the naked eye. The anthropologists failed to find a genuine Sirius B tradition among the Dogon outside what they had gleaned from recent contact with Europeans, and skeptics refuted Temple's extraterrestrial conclusions. The Sirius Mystery continues to serve as a standard reference work in the New Age and the alternative archaeology movements. The Internet, too, is a hotbed of Temple-derived Sirius theories, and of course, Temple continues to publish books. Temple's books and the debates that followed its release publicized the existence of the Dogon tribe among the New Age followers and proponents of ancient astronaut theories. Speculation about the Dogon on the numerous websites is now mingled with fact, leading to wide misunderstanding among the public in Dogon mythology. Robert Temple claims to be able to trace the Sirius B myth back through Egyptian mythology to Sumerian mythology, thus establishing the certainty that the informants were extraterrestrials. The journalist James Oberg has collected published claims about the Dogon mythology and published them in a chapter 6 of his book, James Oberg, UFOs and Outer Space Mysteries, A Sympathetic Skeptic Report. Making first contact 5,000 or more years ago, the fish, frog, humanoid amphibians are hypothesized to have been taught the arts of civilization to humans, are claimed in the book to have originated the systems of the pharaohs of Egypt, the mythology of Greek civilization, and the epic of Gilgamesh, amongst other things. The following references are Adams, H.H. 1983a, African Observers of the Universe, The Sirius Question, and Van Sertima, the first, 1983, The Lost Sciences of Africa, an overview both quoted in one Van Sertima, Blacks in Science. Claims that Dogons knew these four things at least 700 years, and that the ancient Egyptians also possessed this knowledge, were first made in Adams and endorsed by Van Tinas. The sole source of information about Dogon's astronomical knowledge is the research of the French anthropologists Marcel Graul and Germain Dieterlen. One main issue is the Dogon legends about the companion to Sirius are claimed to originate before the terrestrial astronomer could have known of the existence of Sirius B, let alone its 50-year orbit, or its nature as a tiny condensed white dwarf star, all of which the Dogon allegedly knew. Ogo Tamili, the sole source of data used in the Sirius Mystery. Gall first publishes data, along with the German Germain Dietrian, in Deu Exterminus avec Ogotameli, says, which I guess translates to God of Water Conversions with Octameli, from 1948, in which he records his conversation with a blind hunter, Octameli, who claimed to have extensive knowledge of the Dogon lore, much of which was restricted to certain tribal elders. Moreover, Graul's original data on which the whole edifice is built is very questionable as mythology, which is declared intent to redeem African thought. Its formal interviews with a single informant throughout the interpreter and the absence of text in the Dogon language have been criticized for years. To state it more in detail, the sole source this information about Dogon astronomical knowledge is the research of two French anthropologists, Marcel Graal and Germain Dietrich, and the sole source of the anthropologist's knowledge was Ogo Temeli. Alright, there's more to the article. There's actually two other pieces to this article. I'm going to look at those next week. Links available so you can read it more to understand. And here's a good question. People often ask this whenever we have some sort of storms, if UFOs are involved with them. It says UFOs, government experiments, blown transformers. What are those flashes seen before earthquakes? Meteorologist, theweathernetwork.com. Wednesday, August 27th, p.m. Residents of California's Bay Area experienced a magnitude 6.0 earthquake very early on Sunday morning. But some experienced something even strange just before or during the event, flashes of light in the sky that have frequently been associated with earthquakes. What appears to be security footage over the city of Santa Rosa at 3:13 p.m. on Sunday, roughly 7 minutes before the entire area shook, shows flashes going off a few seconds, including some exceptionally bright ones. This was during Japan. Here we go. This was the Santa Rosa. It's 1 minute, 11 seconds for the whole video. Let's see if we see the lights going off. I guess maybe down here, this light here keeps going off. There's the big light. There we go. Wow, that's a pretty good flash. And then shortly after that, the earthquake. Okay, what appears to be security footage looking out over the city of Santa Rosa, California at 3:13 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time Sunday, 7 minutes before the entire area shook, shows flashes of light going off every few seconds, including some exceptionally bright ones. Well, some might say that these flashes can be explained by electrical transformers being stressed during the earthquake. That would only work for flashes going off during the quake, when the ground is violently shaking back and forth, although these kind of lights have been reported during many earthquakes, going back decades and perhaps even longer, even in places where there are no electronic transformers. People may have come up with many explanations for these lights, from the fantastical to the ones more suited to science fiction, and even related to government conspiracies. But scientists may have traced the reason back to how various materials, including earth and rock, react when they're put under stress. One study, it was shown that the tiny flawed crystals contained in basalts and gabbros can release electrical charges when they're stressed by seismic waves. When these types of rocks solidify in cracks with larger rock formations, forming what are called dikes, these dikes can funnel these electrical charges released from the crystals up to the surface of the ground. The charges combine to form kinds of plasma-like state, which can travel very high velocities and burst out of the surface to make electric charges in the air. Very interesting. So that's not necessarily the only explanation for this, though. It says other studies which examine electrical effects in powders and grains showed that where cracks appear in the materials made up of those powders and grains, it can generate electric voltage. Okay, very interesting article indeed. And to wrap it all up, there's another video here at the end with some more mystery flashes. So there you have it. That is our UFO news. I'll be back. We'll continue on with our discussions of Jesus Friday. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Great Spirit, send down your
continue on, shall we? So Jesus. We're going to continue on. This was a site I pulled up last week. Jesus' 46 parables in chronological order. Last week, I just kind of gave the intro and the first parable. Now today we're going to go to parables 5 and 6. Here we go. Parable 5. From Luke chapter 7, verses 41 to 47, the moneylender. 2 men owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii, the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back, so he canceled the debts of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt canceled. And the judge, you have judged correctly, Jesus said. Then he turned towards the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them away with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time I entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, for she loved much. But he who has been forgiven little loves little. Lamp on a stand. Well, here, let's go. He said, what options did the moneylender have with the people who owed him money? He didn't have to forgive them, right? He could have told them they had to pay. Jesus' parable about the moneylender seems an odd response to the Pharisee who was thinking that it was strange that Jesus allowed a sinful woman to touch him. What was Jesus actually saying to Simon? A, that you can know grace because you don't think of yourself as a sinner. B, you are a bigger sinner than the woman, but you don't know it. C, you may have sinned less than the woman, but you still need forgiveness. D, the more you've sinned, the more your love for God. And E, the more that you've been forgiven, the more your love for God. And who do you identify with in the parable? The moneylender, the small debtor, or the large debtor? Parables make you think, but usually have a straightforward lesson. What is the fundamental lesson of the parable? And it says, the message of the parable to Simon seems to be Jesus' words in verse 47. Her sins, which are many, have been forgiven. But he who is forgiven a little loves little. Simon was in the position of having been forgiven little, and his message that he also loved must have been sobering to him. Noland writes, it is possible that the parable was composed to confront the unforgiving Pharisee with the limitless of God's readiness to forgive, now being brought to effective expression in the ministry of Jesus. In the context of the narrative, the woman's lavish actions are the result of the great debt that she has been forgiven. In contrast, Simon's stingy actions stem from his failure to realize that he needs to be forgiven. To Luke's original readers, the parable and the narrative clearly interpret each other. It would have been very easy for them to identify the sinful woman of the story as the debtor forgiven, much in the parable. They would also compare Simon the Pharisee with the debtor forgiven title. The next step for the original reader would be to see the incredible graciousness, mercy, and forgiveness of God, like the creditor who forgave both debtors. Thus, the theme of the parable is one of God's forgiveness and grace. To apply this parable to our lives, we must also see the incredible forgiveness of God. For some, seeing God's mercy is easy because their past is like that of the sinful woman or the debtor with the large debt. They know their past made them unworthy to be in relationship with God, and yet out of His great love, they have welcomed Him into His presence. They have been welcomed into His presence. Out of His incredible gratitude and love, they respond lavishly, honoring Jesus in every imaginable way. However, some of us has grown up in the church. We are much like Simon the Pharisee, who has compared the debtor with the smaller debt. Like Simon, we too have difficulty seeing that we need forgiveness. Also, like Simon, we fail to honor Jesus. He is simply not a guest of honor in our lives. We struggle to realize that our little debt is still beyond our ability to pay, which puts us on equal ground with those with big debts. We stand in need of the Savior who is willing to forgive If only we will accept His grace, then we can respond to Jesus in love out of gratitude for what He has done in our lives. All right. And then let's look at Parable 6, lamp on a stand. And this applies directly, just like the hermit. It says no one lights a lamp and hides it under a jar or puts it under a bed. Instead, he puts it on a stand so that those who come in can see the light. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Therefore consider carefully how you listen. Whosoever has will be given more. Whosoever does not have, even what he thinks he has will be taken from him. Okay, so let's look at this a little further. It says in Jesus' story about the lamp, what does the lamp stand for? Well, we know that light is information, so the lamp would be a source of information. Holding that high, have you ever tried to hide your Christian identity or beliefs from other people? In this day and age, it does happen. We all know that. People get shy. But people are standing up, because people do stand up for God quite more than it is believed. What sort of things would God have you bring out into the open? I'd have to imagine it would be everything. That God wants you to be healed, forgiven, as well as showing forgiveness to others, and by bringing our problems, our issues out into the open so that God can bring forgiveness against us, we have the same ability to do for others. In the light of verses 16 through 17, what is the meaning of verse 18? Well, verse 18 here, let's go look at verse 18. Therefore, consider carefully how you listen. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what he thinks he has, will be taken from him. Okay, so it's very important. So what do we think is the meaning? Exactly as it says. I think that's how we add to life. It's like karma. We can create our life. We can add good things to our life. We can have things pulled away from our lives just by operating the laws of life itself. All right, and there you go. That's our last of the descriptions for today. Let's see. Maybe we can go take a look at one more of these. Let's look at Parable 7. Parable 7, Luke 12:15 through 21, the rich food. Then he said to them, watch out, be on guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop. He thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my grain and my goods. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself, but it is not rich towards God. This is what sign of greed can show up in a person's life. With what parts of the parable can we identify? And what parts of the parable make us uncomfortable? In Ecclesiastes 8:15, Simon says, so I commended pleasure, for there is nothing good for a man under the sun except to eat and to drink and to be merry. And this will stand by him in his toils throughout the days of his life to which God has given him under the sun. Is the Bible giving us conflicting advice? Does this parable say that you should not plan for retirement or you should not save your money with valuables? And why is it difficult for us to accept the fact that our lives and things are temporary? What step can you take this week to become less dependent upon your possessions? All right, let's go one more. Parable number 8. Watchfulness. Be dressed, ready for service, and keep your lamps burning. Like men waiting for their master's return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door for him. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. I tell you the truth, he will dress himself to serve. He will have them recline at the table and will come and wait on them. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the second or third night of the watch. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You must also be ready, because the Son of Man will come in an hour when you do not expect him. So the questions are, what is it like to wait for someone without knowing when he or she is coming? How long did Jesus say the servants should be waiting, willing to wait for their master? And how does this translate to you today? For what are we to be watchful? What does this watchfulness involve, and why is watchfulness not a passive activity? What has God given us? What has He given you? How much have we individually and collectively been entrusted with? And last, what responsibilities or duties might God demand of you? What can you do for God in your area of responsibility? So watchfulness, very important. A good parable here. And again, we can take all of this back and we can think of synchronicities, but the hermit, the Virgo state that we're in right now, the hermit holds the lantern high, and we've seen now parables about shining the lantern high and be watchful. And this is one of the things that the hermit's doing. So there's good synchronicity in what life is showing us versus what is taking place where we're at right now. And if we just pay attention and look at the different synchronicities, it helps us to move through life, because we start to see guideposts all along the way, just to remind us, like when you're traveling down the freeway, the highway, and you're going to a vacation or just another destination, you see the road signs to let you know you're in the right place. Sometimes you don't see signs for a while, then you do, and you now know where you are. Well, that's the same with all of these. They're just road signs along the way. And if we pay attention and we start to see things that make a little different sense, or we can put together because they're connected to others, they're like road signs that help us to know that we are going the right way. All right, let's move on from there. Here's an article at In5D, how the soul essence of DNA defines our physical presence. This comes from Greg Prescott. Through the genetic manipulation of our DNA by the Anunnaki, we are using 22 of the 64 condoms of our DNA. Condoms are like light switches, and most of them are turned off. In the movie Lucy, Morgan Freeman's character, Professor Norman, asked a question: what if there was a way of accessing 100% of our brains? What would we be capable of? There's a trailer if you want to check that out there. It says, perhaps if the remaining condoms in our DNA were activated, we might know the answer. Of course, the critics and those who rely on empirical data to back up the scientific hypothesis will argue that we use 100% of our brains. But that doesn't explain intellectual anomalies such as Albert Einstein or Nikola Tesla, who were able to envision things that the common man or woman could not. Nor does it explain how certain people can have a traumatic brain injury that unlocks a specific ability that they never had before, such as the examples in the following articles. The boy with incredible brain, and head injury turns dropout into fractal genius. There we have a video talking about near-death experiences, which affect such things as well. It says when a person has an NDE, near-death experience, the soul leaves the body, yet the DNA remains within the shell. In our previous lives, and soul essences are all kept within the DNA of the body, then there would be no recollection of who you are or any previous lives upon leaving the body. While having an NDE, most people believe that they have had a galactic consciousness and innately knew everything about everything. Yet they were not allowed to bring back all this knowledge returning to their bodies. So if the genetic DNA and the brain are still within the shell, yet the soul is able to know everything and anything upon leaving the body in a near-death experience, then how is the important is our DNA on an etheric level, if it isn't? In today's society, there is a really great demand for carrying on the family name, yet upon introspection, it is only a name. In a previous life, you're somebody else with a different surname, so how important is it to continue your family name on a spiritual level? It isn't. Yet most men want a son to carry on that name, while some women will use their family's surname as a middle name when they get married. We all choose to incarnate into a particular family with specific DNA-coded shell, and it's up to us to make the most of our DNA so that they simply exist with it. It's no wonder why the Rockefeller Foundation spent so much money on the Human Genome Project, whose objective is to identify and map our DNA. It seems that fear is the prime antagonist that keeps our DNA from evolving, while a secondary blockage may arise from not believing how powerful we truly are. In other words, our reality is a gigantic placebo effect that is working against us by giving our power away to religion while living in the matrix that feeds on our fears. Perhaps our DNA is encoded to open at specific points in astrological time, such as the end of the precession of the equinoxes. It is also possible that we are the ones who are holding us back from evolving. Our bodies can be programmed for X amount of years to believe in limited existence within the box of conformity. Though Dr. Masaru Emoto's work on water and consciousness, we know that water can send the cells in our body messages, which can be carried to our DNA. What if we were asked the water to fully open the DNA? Granted, after many years of conditioning within this matrix, it would take time to convince ourselves that this is possible. But what if it were true? Well, we should be cognizant of what DNA carries during the incarnation due to the possibility of a genetic anomaly that may be harmful to one's shell. Our true identity is within the soul. There's a high probability that we chose to incarnate into bodies that carry the majority of our galactic DNA lineage. But that is where it pretty much ends. As spiritual beings having a human experience, it is our soul essence that matters, not the shell's genetic code or the family name you were born into. Ultimately, our souls carry all of the information we need, but while this were in the current incarnation, our DNA may hold the key to becoming all that we can possibly be while in the physical body. In the following video, James Gillian and Michael Challenger talk about how our DNA is programmed to open a specific point in time, which many people think is the very near future. There we have a video for you right there. Check it out. The video itself, 56 minutes. 56 minutes. But both Michael Tellinger and James Gillian and Michael Tellinger are excellent speakers. Lots of information. So check it out. I think you'll like what you see and additionally what you learn. Alright, let's move on there to our message for today. This is our channeled message, and it comes to us from Jesus.
Jesus, anything you can imagine, you can create.
August 25, 2014, by John Smallman.
Jesus.
The excitement mounts. Here in the spiritual realms we are all agog as we observe the tremendous progress you are making as you power forwards towards your awakening. It is so very close. Keep shining your light brightly as you hold determinedly to your intent to be loving in every moment, in every situation, and prepare yourselves for unbridled amazement and wonder when it happens, as it most surely will. You are on course and on schedule for a great event that has been planned for eons. You are at the forefront as it prepares to unfold, beautifully and very dramatically, for all of humanity who choose to be part of this momentous and uplifting move, away from the dark energies that have been so prevalent on planet Earth, and into the eternal light of God's infinite love. God's love is the infinite energy field in which all of creation is eternally enfolded. There is nowhere else, and there is no need for anywhere else, because your divine source provides in infinite abundance all that you could possibly dream of, wish for, or desire as you use your brilliant creative capabilities to join with Him in endlessly expanding that creation. There are no limits. And yet there is nothing beyond our divine source, the source of all that exists and into which all is inextricably, freely, and lovingly integrated. For you, presently experiencing scarcity and limitation within the illusion, this is a paradox of incomprehensible proportions. However, deep within each one of you is the absolute knowing that you are each inseparable and essential parts or aspects of the divine energy field. But because you chose to play games of separation, abandonment, heartache, and suffering within your unreal and illusory environment, you closed off, temporarily, your awareness of your divine and eternal nature. It is as though the sacred flame of His love, burning eternally within each one of you, had been hidden or covered over, leaving you apparently alone and abandoned in the strife-torn and fearful darkness of a cold and insensitive universe. And your science, in its extremely limited perception, confirms that space is an extremely cold and forbidding place into which you would only venture at your peril, and, should you choose to do so, quite a pointless exercise. 1. Because you have neither the ability nor the technology to traverse any but the smallest portion of it, it being so vast, and 2. Because your lives are far too short for you to have enough time to make any meaningful return journeys or forays out into its vastness. Nevertheless, this is a totally incorrect assessment of your situation. As divine beings, which you most certainly are, you were created free to explore the whole vastness of creation without let or hindrance, and in comparison your visible universe is like unto your backyard. Temporarily, however, you chose to build an illusory and severely limited environment in which to play some rather insane games. The initial excitement that this environment provided has long since faded away, and the realization that this is not God's will for you is now dawning. Consequently, you have collectively made the decision to let it dissolve back into the nothingness from which you imagined it into being, and so, inevitably, you will awaken. If you could tune into any of the infinite number of positive energy frequencies of the spiritual realms, which are boundless, you would be astounded by the ongoing and eternal creative enterprises in which you are all involved. Even though it seems that you are earthbound, encased in bodies that constantly limit you, you would be able to see the incredible and uncountable contributions that you are all making to the infinitely growing and expanding field of creation in moments when you are either sleeping, meditating, or just quietly relaxing without engaging with your fear-driven ego minds. You are all divine beings, and your true home is in the infinitely varied and endless spiritual realms where there are no limits. Anything you can imagine you can create, and that will add to the divine and most beautiful energy field that is all that exists. God's will in creating sentient life was to expand reality and have all of you assist him in filling the energy field that he had created with beautiful creations of your own. And you are all inseparable parts of that divine reality. This expansion is a creative tour de force in which all sentient life is fully involved, joyfully and eternally. As humans, in a state of limited and severely restricted consciousness, you can have no idea of the wonders that await your imminent awakening. Creation, reality, is an ongoing exercise in joy. It is endlessly delightful, enticing, and entrancing, and its sole purpose is in the pure joy of creating further wonders to amaze all who are part of it, all sentient life. God is love, an infinite and ever-expanding field in which all of creation has its eternal existence. It is into that wondrous state that you are all shortly to awaken, whereupon you will truly know yourselves for the first time as brilliantly competent individual centers of intelligence who are at the same time one with your divine source. Within reality there are no needs because you are all complete just as God created you, and so you are unlimited, untethered, and free to create as your moods and inspirations take flight, bringing into existence ever more brilliant demonstrations of the creative geniuses that your loving Father created when He created each one of you. Creation is an ongoing and endless series of mind-blowing delights which will fill you constantly with joy as you forever expand your visions of what is possible. And, of course, anything that you can envision is possible. An exhilarating awakening experience is at hand, so hold your light on high and prepare for boundless wonder as the limits that have bound you for so long fade away as you allow yourselves to be led forwards into this divine garden of enchanting beauty. Your loving brother, Jesus.
Very good message from Jesus. Again, another confirmation of the change that is upon us. That brings us to our meditation for today. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. And another deep breath, and exhale. And just keep breathing in and out, in and out. And as you breathe in and out, contemplate the words of today's affirmation. I seek new opportunities. I seek new opportunities. So imagine yourself seeking new opportunities today. Opportunities to expand, to evolve, to grow, opportunities to be more positive, opportunities to be more loving, opportunities to express more gratitude, and to recognize the abundance of the universe that exists all around us at each and every moment. Many, many opportunities in the world. We just imagine that they're all available to us. We just need to decide what we wish to do. So imagine yourself experiencing new opportunities. All of your chakras are activated, so you're fully energized. And with the new opportunities comes the opportunity to experience things that will help to open you up in new ways, to help you to grow. So just imagine yourself growing in confidence, in integrity, in wisdom, in love. Just think of all the growth that occurs. Just imagine yourself on this journey, walking through life, just sending out love quietly and silently to everyone you meet. And as you send this love out to those you meet, just imagine them being affected in a positive way, and they go and they take that light and they share it with others. And imagine that you can trace where your love, where your good vibes have gone. And imagine just seeing how you shared those with one person, they shared them with others, and so on and so on. Till the end of the day, you realize how much love you put into the world, just simply by sharing it with a few others, and they in turn do the same. So let's just make that our effort this weekend, just to go forth and send love. We have a crazy world, a lot of crazy things taking place, a lot of fear in the air, but love can change all of that. So let's just imagine sending out love into the world. Let's imagine the color green from the heart chakra wrapping itself around the planet, absorbing itself down into the planet. And then let's just see the planet glowing with green, glowing with love. And let's just hold that thought in our mind and bring ourselves back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. Open your eyes. That's it, my friends. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you very much for being here throughout the week. Much appreciation to all of you for taking the time out to watch the show. Thank you for your comments, for your emails, and all the other ways in which you communicate. Much appreciated. Much appreciation for all of that. Anyway, you have an awesome weekend. Just keep thinking of love. I know it seems on one hand that it's a pretty simple thing to do, and can it really be that simple? And it is. Because love is the greatest force in the universe, and we just send it out, and it becomes a great strength. That's what we've been learning over and over and over. Whether it's through the stories of the wise teachers and masters who came before us, or whether it's just simply understanding how life is. Love is the source that puts it all together. So let's just keep sending out love and make that our way to make the planet better. That's it. I'll be back on Monday. Have an awesome weekend. I love you. Keep loving each other. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.